Hello, 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 my lovelies. It's been a while since we've had a little rendezvous and cut up and all that. I mean, I did my update video, and hey, by the way, quitting smoking's going good. I mean, yes, technically I'm using a vape, but hey, as I've stated before, I'm someone who needs nicotine to survive, goddammit, to stay sane, goddammit. Now, I had a comment that actually sparked an idea for a video. So, what I want to talk about today is actually because I was also, and I replied to this in the comment, I was discussing in my psychology class. I mean, I'm the only person in my psychology class who says anything throughout all of it, except for my professor. The difference between hallucinations and psychosis. And so I want to, for one, kind of discuss the differences, and for two, give you an anecdote of when I did personally experience stimulant psychosis from injecting cocaine and heroin, and it was really quite scary. So, I mean, the key difference is really with psychosis or delirium, you don't know the difference between what's real and what's a hallucination. Your cognitive abilities are just not primed to be able to make that discernment. Now, hallucinations, on the other hand, like, say, deem mushrooms or LSD, seeing patterns, seeing colors, all that, you can tell they're not real. Unless you're having, like, ego death or something, which can, in some cases, especially with longer lasting psychs like LSD, verge on psychosis and delusions, but that's part of why I try not to do those things in excess anymore. I mean, yes, I've had DMT conversations and stuff like that, but again, I can tell that this is, it's a projection of my psyche and not me, channeling some dimension that is just, hidden beyond the veil of our reality or whatever. It seems real, so I get why people make that, they make that association, they construe that, these are real entities, but I personally don't believe that myself. Now, back in the day, as I've expressed, I haven't talked about it much, but, I used to be, essentially a heroin addict. It started with Oxycontin, because even though I was a very well-researched drug user, and I knew in my heart of hearts that heroin and Oxycontin were almost the same, if not Oxycontin being superior to heroin, because I would, I'd take Oxy 80s, lick off the coating, and smoke them on foil, like, I was watching people in my life at that time do with heroin. And, I kept it controlled for about a year, where I was only once a month. I did it very ritualistically. I'd light candles, like I was having a date or something. I'd watch, like, cult movies and play Crisis 2 or 3. It was just very ritualistic, and I remember, like, I sniffed it to begin with, because the thing is, in Canada, you can't find abusable Oxycontin, at least not stuff that it isn't coming from an illegitimate lab or the dark web. Or, conversely, I also knew someone who would get it from a Australian airline stewardess. What we have here is called Oxy-Neo, and it essentially, if you try to crush it up or anything like that, and it comes into contact with water. So you say put it in a spoon, try to cook it. It'll essentially just turn into a sludge. It'll goo up, so you can't pull it through a cotton or anything. Try to snort it, it'll gum up your nostrils. So, biggity bang, everyone turns to heroin. That's exactly what I did. Now, if anyone who's watching this who's a heroin addict, or was a heroin addict when heroin was, heroin and not fentanyl, you will know that after about 6 months of daily use, you kind of cease getting high off of it unless you can really afford like high doses, which I just couldn't. I could afford maybe like a Q and a P a day, and at that point with my tolerance, that wasn't really doing very much. So I started doing what a lot of other addicts were doing, and I would, shoot cocaine and heroin at the same time, because shooting cocaine is one of the grimiest, most fiendy, just repulsive highs, but it's so intense and so euphoric, and it's so psychologically addictive that it makes you come back again and again and again, even if you're not getting a bell ringer anymore. Because the thing is, what happens is, like, as soon as you inject it into the vein, you get that little bit of blood in the syringe, and you're like, there we go, we got it, bam. In about 2 seconds, you'll taste the cocaine in the back of your throat, your mouth will go numb, and you'll just feel this that like a shaking accompanied by like a high-pitched sort of whirring sound, and this is what people call a bell ringer. It's also what people are looking for when they smoke crack. The thing is, shooting coke is a lot more powerful than smoking crack. I've only smoked crack maybe twice in my life, and it was always just like a nasty experience. I never, even as like a hardcore junkie, just didn't want to fuck with it. I mean, that's probably, to be truthful, because I was shooting it, but the point was, I was using the cocaine on top of the heroin to get me high when I used, as opposed to just keep me from being sick. And so, at first, it wasn't that big of a deal, because the little residual calming euphoric effects of the heroin, the calming effects of the heroin would bring down the cocaine a little bit. And by the way, this isn't a cigarette, this is a vape, so stop your internal dialogue. You can call this cheating. Again, I need nicotine to survive, god damn it. Anyways, so I was injecting cocaine with every shot of heroin. I was doing 2-3 shots of heroin a day for I think it was only about 3 days at this point, which was weird because I'd done that for much longer periods of time without really any effects that were all that adverse, at least in comparison. But this time it wasn't something that happened immediately as the cocaine kicked in. I remember I got the cocaine high. The cocaine high wore off. I remember becoming very fiendish, and this is when the psychosis started to begin. And I remember thinking that I had this idea in my mind that some drug dealer had dropped some cocaine somewhere along this stretch of streets near my old house. And a lot of, I'm sure there are people who have done jib, meth, cocaine for long enough can relate, you know, where they think, oh, I've dropped some here, maybe we can find some, and by 5 in the morning they're, you know, fiending out. That was kind of what I was experiencing, but to the point of it being very extreme, like it had completely subsumed my cognitive processes. Like I couldn't think about anything else. And there are kind of gaps in my memory as this happened, but I remember like I ended up by this area where there are often kind of local hockey games, not like big like NHL, but like local hockey games. And so there was these, you know, like coliseums and stuff like that. And I remember I started thinking that in the bricks in the building behind one of them was a dead drop of cocaine or something, some sort of drug I could do. And, you know, if the sober me was going, oh, you know, like even back then I was like, I'm not gonna do, or not a sober me, but a me who was on enough drugs to, you know, still have some of my wits about me, you know, would still go, you know, ugh, I'm not fucking touching that if I saw a bag of like fucking, you know, meth or whatever on the ground, because I did pass, you know, bags of drugs and stuff, being in a area that was, you know, central to, you know, it was the eye of the storm as far as you know, drug use in my city goes. You know, I spent a lot of the time in that area naturally because that's where a lot of sources were at the time. But anyways, so, you know, me in my right mind, in other words, would not have been considering even if I found a dead drop of, you know, a bunch of fucking, like a big bag of cocaine or something, I would at least like be like, okay, I'm getting this tested before I do anything with it. You know, but I just, in this more primitive, like I must find this and use this mindset, I found myself just thinking I need to find it so I can do it. I need to find it so I can do it. And so I was like kind of just in this dazed state, kind of like trying to grab these bricks. And I remember I kept having these like just glints out of the corner of my eyes, because there were windows in between the bricks that they showed you the interior of one of these buildings, the building that I was kind of just tweaking on. And I remember I kept seeing like at first an older Asian woman, and I thought, oh, this must be the building's owner, oh fuck, I gotta hide. And then I'd look and there'd be no one there. And then it changed. So there were more and more and more and more and more people, to the point where it was like a family. It was like a mother, Asian father, 2 Asian children. And I started seeing them more and more as less out of the corner of my eye and more so like every time I looked, but they were just looking at me. And for some reason I wasn't like all that fazed by it. But then I guess there was a moment where rational me managed to like leap up from, you know, it's wherever it had been imprisoned in my mind, and it went, what you're doing is just insane, and you should stop this right now and go home. And at the time I was prescribed Ambien. It's not under the brand name Ambien. In Canada it's a different brand name. I can't remember the name of the brand name. This is over 10 years ago. So sorry. I mean, it probably wasn't a good idea to take something like Ambien, but Ambien never gave me hallucinations really or anything. I found, I would call it by its chemical name. I just know that there's zolpidem, zopiclone, and then the other one, Sonata, and I'm pretty sure zolpidem's Ambien, but I'm not entirely certain, so I just don't want to like say anything incorrect. So I'm just gonna refer to it as fucking Ambien, but it's not that important, so, you know, I don't even need to be blabbering on about it this much. So anyway, sorry. I was just like, yeah, take this, go to sleep. Take this, go to sleep. So I'm walking back to my house, and it was like in this, what seemed like this like short amount of time, it felt like me essentially just walking like up a block and then down the same 3 blocks back and forth a couple of times. That's what it felt like before spending maybe half an hour meddling with these bricks on this building. That's what it felt like, but it had actually been about 4 hours. And so I was walking down the street, and I remember actually these two things are some of the fucking strangest, and I mean strange hallucinations I have ever had. And unsettling too, like very unsettling. Okay, so the first one was I was walking down the street. I was walking past this park that I knew very well. Everything looked kind of normal, except when I looked at the ground, scattered all over the sidewalk and the grass were these they were about twice the size of this lighter in length, so like that big, probably about that wide, and they looked like giant grasshoppers that were they didn't seem alive. They seemed like they were just lying there, so like dead or something, I don't know. But here's the weird, like the kicker. This is what really creeped me out. They had these like weird black smiley faces that looked like they were made out of calligraphy. You know how calligraphy, it kind of does these very smooth, very elegant kind of lines. So it was like scribble, and then smile, like a weird smile. And they were everywhere. They weren't like, piled on top of each other, but they were like, maybe like, I'll give you an example, like say one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. So essentially about spread out, there'd be one like every say 2 feet. I was, still in psychosis, so I wasn't fully registering how fucking... Sorry, I live on a busy street. I wasn't fully registering just how uncanny and just unnatural this was. But I remember still being frightened, just because I had never seen or dreamt of anything kind of quite like these weird creatures, Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna walk because the view's very nice up here. Just to digress for a second, I think a major problem in our world and with people my age is that we don't give ourselves quiet time. We always have to have a screen in the background. And hey, I'm not casting judgment, I'm the same way, but I come up here and I watch the sunset and I look at the mountains when they're visible, look away from the fucking awful city over there, which is where I was getting that cocaine and heroin. And I've come up with so many stories. And they're actually, everyone I've showed them to is like, wow, those are fucking some of the craziest stories I've ever heard. You need to do something with them. So if you ever want to hear them, I would be happy to read you synopses, because I always write synopses for my stories, just to keep it brief so I can show it to people. And also since I have something to work out from, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, I just think it's very healthy to be able to be alone with your own thoughts, and especially in a place where you feel just such majesty, just such a oneness with you're being amalgamated into all this all these surroundings. Holy fuck, I mean, I K-holed the other day sitting right there, and the mountains were visible, and the mountains are fucking huge, but they looked small. They were becoming smaller and smaller, and oh god, I came up with so many stories that time. But anyways, I think I'll make a separate video on that. I'll cease that. I'll put a period at the end of whatever the fuck that digression was. So now I'm seeing these dead weird fucking grasshopper things with calligraphy faces. Like, I'm basically walking like that, and they're fucking just everywhere, just all over the ground. And I remember I was looking at parked cars, and since it was 3 a.m, it was very dark, and like I don't think I passed a single person, like real person. I did. Not that I was like hallucinating people in a sense that, just people who aren't there. I mean, I did experience something similar, and that's what I'm about to tell you about. But so essentially in these parked cars, I would see these 2 red dots like laser beams, and it was like these laser beams. It felt like they were like part of like binoculars or something, some sort of like spy apparatus, and then I would see shadows behind them that were shaped like humans, so felt like someone belonging to some group was monitoring me for some reason. Very typical kind of paranoid psychotic delusion. I didn't feel it overwhelmingly. I just was like, my mind was like, get home, take something sedative that will help you sleep, get home, take sedative, sleep. That's what I was just like, I need to do this because there's something wrong about this. This is like a waking nightmare. But then, holy fuck, I had the strangest hallucination. So I was walking by actually my first girlfriend's house, who I dated when I was 8, and she like we even had a mock marriage and everything. It's just like cute little kid shit. But anyways, like I was walking by her parents' house, and there was this street lamp outside of it, street lamp that looks, I'll find you one that looks identical. Yeah, just like, see that black one right there? Just like fucking, yeah, like that, but green. And a bit of an older model, obviously older model because it was a bit more worn down, you know what I mean? So it's just a street lamp. But then it just immediately turned into this giant woman, young woman, with she had like she's a pretty good looking woman actually, but she was like 15 feet tall, like this fucking street lamp, so that completely freaked me out. And she distinctly had this this like striped shirt on that was kind of just like a almost like a t-shirt, tightly fitting, and then slacks that I can't remember what her shoes were because I wasn't looking at her fucking shoes, but like very like just this was a very detailed not hallucination, but delusion. That's what I'm trying to really like convey to you. Because that's a huge difference, I think, in a hallucination and a psychotic, vision or whatever you want to call it. But she has slacks that were like, I want to say tweed. It's like it's that material that kind of looks like flannel, but is like a little more fluffy in its consistency. But anyways, the most distinct part was I couldn't see her face. I could see she had a giant fedora on that was kind of like like, I'm not wearing a fedora, so I'm just going to do the best I can with what I've got here. I stopped wearing fedoras a long time ago. Used to love them, but I mean, the internet kind of made you like an immediate incel if you fucking sported a fedora. At least in terms of just the eyes of others. So unfortunately, I had to hang up my fedoras. But anyways, so here's this giant 15-foot tall woman. She's kind of standing like, and then goes. And as soon as she puts her fedora down, she just turns right back into the street lamp. And I was like, whoa, buddy, this is getting a little too real for me. So luckily I was about 2 blocks from my house, but I remember hearing like a mix between wailing and sirens, like, and I was just like, oh fuck. So finally I get home and boom, I take this I believe Zolpidem, Ambien, whatever, and like, you know, as I said, it's not actual Ambien, so they come in essentially 5 milligram tablets that you'd put under your tongue and they'd dissolve. So you'd take it sublingually. Like, it was weird, like, you couldn't take them orally because they had something in them that would make it so you metabolize them for some reason. I guess it was so people weren't abusing a lot at once. But anyways, because I know like Zolpidem, Ambien, whatever is otherwise like orally active, but this stuff wasn't, and you know, I can tell you because I tried, and it didn't work. You'd have to, you know, stuff like 4 in your mouth if you wanted to fucking try to feel something, but again, I never really felt much. Anyways, I get home, and what I would do sometimes back then, especially during spring, summer months, is I would just throw a mattress in front of our like giant fucking TV set. I'd take my fucking pills and I would just trip out for a while watching whatever it was, because this was kind of when Netflix first started catching on and like really becoming popular, so I was getting into that. And I was just like, okay, go to sleep, you'll be fine the next day, just go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, please, for the love of God, go to sleep. And I did, and it took me about an hour, I would say, but this was when I experienced one of the more disturbing hallucinations, or fuck, I keep saying hallucinations because it's like, I guess it technically is a hallucination in that it was like something I was envisioning. In this case it was an auditory hallucination, but a fucking very vivid one, but like, you know, it wasn't something I could discern from reality like an otherwise, like, so like a psychedelic hallucination, or like a hypnopompic hallucination. Hypnopomp is when you wake up too early and you're still kind of hallucinating after waking up from sleep, you know. Not something like that where you can be like, yeah, that's not actually there. This was a product of the psychosis I was in. And so essentially, I heard, and this fucking, like, it still freaks me out, and it kind of frightens me on a deep level, like, and just, like, it's visceral. It's visceral to me. Like, I legitimately could hear, like, my mom and dad upstairs getting, like, attacked by wolves or dogs or something, and, like, I wasn't having visual psychosis at this point, but I had a very vivid image in my mind's eye of them just, like, unable to fight off these fucking feral, like mangy dogs that were attacking them and screaming, and I just couldn't do anything about that. But this was like, I think the Zolpidem, the Ambien, was starting to kick in, and, you know, since I guess it is similar to benzos, it had that effect of lowering that state of psychosis, relaxing my body, bringing some GABA through my brain, and so the cognition within me was starting to become revived a bit more. So I was like at first going, I can't discern this from reality, but I don't know what to do about it. I don't want to just risk, kicking in my parents' door and being like, fuck off, you fucking vociferous predators. Ah! Like, I was just in a state of shock pretty much. Yeah, so, that's like, I just picture that for yourself, if you will, is that unless you like hate your parents, fucking, and I've got great parents. I love my parents. They do a lot for me. That was very it's petrifying. That's what it was. Yeah, as I was saying, the Ambien, whatever, was starting to lessen the delirium had on my ability to reason. And so I started going, this isn't real. Think about all the crazy things you've seen over the last little while and the weird way you behave. This is not natural. This is not real. This is like, I kept going back to the waking nightmare. And so I was able to kind of convince myself this isn't real. And long story short, I went to sleep. But yeah, that is my one experience with psychosis in my life. And this one experience with psychosis was, get this, enough to have me diagnosed with bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, and a litany of other things, put on antipsychotics, like a whole spectrum of pharmaceuticals that all had like very adverse effects on me. The exact type of adverse effects that show you do not have that neurochemical imbalance to require said medication to help regulate your neurochemistry, like antipsychotics, for example. They will give you akathisia if you don't need them, at least, it's actually all of them can do it, but it's especially the older generation ones like Haldol or Loxapine, and yeah, they put me on that, and I was like shaking, like to the point where like I couldn't sit down, and I just had to pace, and like people thought I was on meth at the time, like because it was just so bad. But like it all stemmed out of them, who like these psychiatrists, they knew I was a drug user. I told them. I always tell my doctors what I'm using, because I think just like being hush hush and lying about that stuff could be the difference between living and dying sometimes. But that's just me. And the thing was concurrent disorder, which is, for those of you who are unaware, essentially an explanation for why addicts tend to use for the most part. This doesn't include all fucking addicts, but I will say it probably does describe the mechanisms driving most of their behavior, and that essentially is that they have an issue, be it mental health, chronic pain, both, and it hasn't been adequately treated, and they've been naturalized to an environment where like a certain drug, or say alcohol or whatever, will give them some degree of relief from what they have been experiencing, hence why they use. That's concurrent disorder for you. And they knew bloody well this was a thing. This is being recognized for a long time, but they still, you have bipolar, take these mood stabilizers, take lithium, stuff like that, and like, ugh. And I fucking definitely don't have fucking bipolar, and not even bipolar 2. But so that was my only experience with psychosis. But just to really drive home the point of like, say, psychedelic hallucinations being a lot different. Uh, like for example, like I candy flipped the other day. I did acid, and like probably the best MDMA I've done in a very, very long time. And I did it like not in the typical candy flip where you wait 4 hours and then take the MDMA, because honestly, I didn't want to just like wait in the weirdness of acid, anticipating this MDMA and then having to take it. So I took the acid, waited an hour until it kicked in, and it kicked in pretty fast. It was 125 mics, and it was honestly a little underwhelming, but it was definitely 125 mics. But as I said, I don't try to go out of my way to do high doses. But I waited an hour, took a parachute of like a point of this very good MDMA, waited 4 hours, took another parachute of a point of this very good MDMA, and fucking rolled all the way through. And I did like a huge amount of ketamine towards the end. And like my entire vision was just like big geometric patterns like just passing through me, which was funny because I was cooking dinner for a friend the entire time. Like I was cooking dinner and like putting on movies for her to watch and shit while I was busy and like cleaning up the house, and like I was still very functional. I did bail down the stairs by accident right after I did the ketamine, but shit happens when you pile on a lot of drugs like that, which I'm not recommending people do. Not everyone's fucking me. I felt fine the next day because I take care of myself very well when I do, drugs and shit. But in any case, yeah, I like my vision was just swirling with these big like geometric. What would I compare them to? I don't know, like transparent 3D holograms of, say, like Egyptian hieroglyphics and Aztec temple art and stuff like that. Just transparent, like symbols, algorithms, just whoosh, like that. And I was, like, I'm tripping. This is what happens when you trip. And I've probably explained my theory for what those visuals are, which is that so much of your brain is lit up when you're on psychedelics that I think the sensory processes within your brain, which are all algorithmic really to begin with, you think of how we make decisions. It's like a decision is like an equation in our mind. We're adding up in our mind what the potential outcomes of our actions or our choices that will be ultimately utilized in our actions will conclude as. Say like, if I run across this street that's a green light, I don't see many cars, but so I should be fine. But at the same time, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I could get ticketed, or a car could just come out of nowhere because there's a blind spot here and hit me. That's like your mind adding up bits and pieces to come to a conclusion and decide what is best to do. Incidentally enough, I think with people who have mental illness, a lot of them they don't have that full logical circuit in their brain, so they're missing a little piece, and they fill it in themselves with something that just isn't like it's not a trajectory that's logical in any way. I mean, I've been around a lot of mentally ill people who have had serious delusions, and I think that's the case. That's my point of view. And by the way, I'll probably make a video about this pretty soon, but I've come up with an entire theory for how to potentially reverse mental illness in people while they're still young, using, get this, sensory deprivation and psilocybin mushrooms, maybe with MDMA too, in people 15 to 19. I know that sounds very controversial, and you're going to be like, what the fuck, why would you be giving this to kids? I will explain this all to you in another video, because I've actually written down like vetting trials, so you could take out people who wouldn't benefit from it without, damaging them in the process or anything, because I think ethics are very important if you're going to carry out an experiment such as that. But anyways, yeah, to really summate the point that I've been getting at through this whole video, delusions, delirium, psychosis, these conceptions of what isn't real, that come about in states of either endogenous neurochemical deficiency, aka mental illness, or drug use, or both. Oftentimes it can be both, even though I've always said stuff like meth makes normal people act completely schizophrenic or manic. Seen it happen. I've, almost been there myself. Even though I've only done meth, I've done it less than any other drug ever, because it's and that was back when I was a fiend. But anyways, essentially, say if you look at a report of someone who's taken a bunch of Benadryl or Datura, scopolamine, they are essentially unable, they're in a hypnosis, to tell the difference between reality and this fiction being produced by whatever is happening in their brains, to whatever deficiency, whatever is causing the brain to fire too fast, or there's a number of reasons for why this could happen, from hallucinations, be it, again, really, I can't think of many examples why someone would hallucinate unless, as a child, for example, and this actually factors into my theory about, abolishing mental illness, you have a very malleable imagination, or not just imagination, but you have a malleable brain. So your brain is constantly growing and changing and forming new neural pathways, and so I think that's why kids with vivid imaginations, like I did as a kid, had hallucinations that seemed real, or at least seemed they didn't seem like they were fake. Except I did see patterns in the sidewalk, kind of like a very, very, like a microdose of LSD or psilocybin when I was a kid, and those I could tell weren't real, but it's odd that I had that back, all the way back then, anyways, yeah, so, that, hallucinogens, so at least low doses, because I've experienced psychotic-like states where when I've taken hallucinogens enough, to the point where I'm beyond ego death, and again, typically long-lasting ones like LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, in doses like 9.5 grams or 40 hits or whatever, that's enough to get your brain on fucking fire. And so yeah, you're gonna have a tough time discerning what's what in that kind of state, but it's still different. It is still distinctly different. I think ego death is a huge part of that. With those hallucinations, with say a couple hits of acid or an eighth of mushrooms, what you're seeing, it may feel like it's spiritually, you're being even though I'm I think the only honest answer is agnostic. I say atheist because I hate religion. I just want to stress that I'm more of I'm really an anti-theist, and I don't want to have to explain to everyone who asks what religious belief I hold what an anti-theist is. because you'd be surprised how many people don't know what that is. But, you know, I'm not knocking them for it, whatever, you know, I'm not some fucking neck-beard atheist. I, you know, was like that when I was like 17, 18, and I was an obnoxious fuck, and I don't want to be like that kind of person, you know. I'm fine with people being spiritual as long as they're not hurting other people in the process. Anyways, you know, I'll give you an example. Say, a schizophrenic person has beliefs that say anything electronic is sending waves to their brain that's controlling them. Whereas if, say, two people on LSD, you know, on enough of it, say like 400, 500 micrograms, you know, believe that they are bonding and almost having a telepathic communication. Not that they're hearing each other's thoughts, but they're receiving the same sentiments. You know, they're still gonna be like, oh, hey, on acid, we like completely tapped into each other. But, you know, again, with the emphasis being on acid, you know, and so, like, even in those states, there is still a sense of, oh, I'm here right now on a psychedelic, you know, I know I took something and I've gotten here. I mean, like, personally, the first time I broke through on DMT, I forgot I took DMT and was thinking I was dying, or like I kept going, am I dying? Am I dreaming? Am I dying? Am I dreaming? But that, I think, was just a fear response. Whereas, you know, someone on schizophrenia is not going to be able to fully comprehend, discern what's real, what's not. Right? Right. Now, again, I just want to expand on, my theory on mental illness. I won't get into my theory on how I think we could potentially reverse it using psychedelics and sensory deprivation tanks and positive reinforcement sessions, and also getting them to learn a new language or instrument or some form of expression that would help to expand their perspective while their brains are still malleable, kind of thing. I said I wouldn't get into it, but that's the gist of it. If you want to hear more about it, I really would love to talk about it, so please do let me know. I think psychosis, because I've seen people go into psychosis around me a lot, like people with actual mental illness. And it's like they're, you know, again, their brain's making an equation, but some part of it is missing. So as a way of making up for that, their brain will just supplement something that seems like it could be, you know, true maybe in some reality, but it's not necessarily correct. And since it's part of that cognitive equation that's going on that they don't even realize, it is just immediately perceived as being true, right? I met someone once who, and oh god, this broke my heart, because he was such a sweet guy, man, he probably still is a sweet guy, I just haven't talked to him in a while, so I hope he's alright, but, he just started spontaneously hearing voices when he was, quite older, than most people who experience mental illness, who tend to be, in their mid-20s, or a little bit younger, a little bit older. I think he was in his mid-30s, and he was a very sane person, but overall, but he would hear voices, and they would say awful things to him. They would just torment him. Like once they said, if you don't smash your face into the corner of this table, we're going to kill your family. So, believing this, what does he do? Wha-bang! Smashes his face into the corner of the table. He ended up actually getting electroshock therapy, and it actually did help him. Actually, honestly, and as I said, I was institutionalized. I've been in the psych ward. I've been around people who have had this stuff. Electroshock therapy, it works for him, but I only talked to him after the first round, because the thing is, people don't realize this. They don't do it to you just once. They do it to you like every couple of weeks if they deem you fit. And they deem me fit, so if I want, I can do it. Am I gonna do it? Fuck no. Not in this lifetime. I'm ADD, you've heard how many times I fucking digressed during this video alone. My memory sucks as it is at 27. I don't need it to be any worse, because the main side effect I've noticed from people with it is that they have terrible memory, almost like Alzheimer's, dementia, people who have had it multiple times. But it worked for this kid, or not kid, 35, whatever. Just really, really sweet, knowledgeable guy. He had very, very bad anxiety, so he wouldn't talk to many people. He was at the psych ward when I was there. Fuck, my heart goes out to him wherever he is, but poor guy is going to be having to take that for the rest of his life. And it's not as scary as movies like Requiem for a Dream make it out to be, where you're awake and they fucking hit you with it and you're biting down on a rubber thing. It's not like that. They knock you out, they give you anesthesia, so it's not that cruel. But it's still the people I witnessed who have had it seemed like they had a lobotomy, and I'm not even joking. They would sleep 23 hours a day. They ate fucking massive amounts of food. They usually would just smile very emptily, it was creepy. It was creepy most of the time. I'm not saying they were creepy people. I'm just saying it was a creepy side effect of it. And they very rarely talked, and if they did talk, they talked very softly. It was just someone took the human dial within them and turned it all the way down. And they were also on heavy amounts of heavy cocktails of antipsychotics and stuff like that. I've seen antipsychotics alone have pretty much the same effect, where it's like a chemical lobotomy on people, and they're just, oh, good morning, may I have my medication, please? And then go back to sleep again, and it's just holy fuck, it's almost like this may sound cruel on my part. I don't mean to be a dick, but it's almost at that point, you might as well be taking them out to the fucking pasture and just, loading up that fucking 12 gauge and, oh, sorry, Spanky, you come down with that schizoid fever. I don't mean that, but it is they, instead of killing them, they made them into zombies. I'm not trying to sound cruel. It's just, one of my coping mechanisms for stuff that I find horrifying is to kind of laugh at it. I think it's a great coping mechanism. I think gallows humor is one of the few ways to try and stay somewhat sparky during times of great turmoil. But otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here before I get to an hour. I've gone way past what I was going to say, but I hope, the banter was fun as it is anyways. I enjoy rambling to the camera. I just enjoy rambling in general. Most people tolerate it. I can see why many people probably think I'm obnoxious, but hey, you know what? Oh, that's so cool, that effect of the light behind my head in the clouds. Makes me look angelic. Well, Mr. Angelic here is saying farewell to you divine beings. No, I'm sure you're all fucking fabulous, but I don't think there's anything truly divine out there. At least not that. Oh, well, I mean, I shouldn't say this actually, but one of my foreign names is actually divine. It's not spelled the same way though. But that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not fucking gonna dox myself. That just struck me as kind of funny. But yeah, have a blessed day, y'all. And I hope this is educational for you. And I hope that we can get my views up. And I hope I can, make friends with some new subscribers and just talk with some of my regular viewers and some new viewers. I'm always happy to do that. And I'm not making money off this channel, but I am getting much value off of interacting with you folks. So stay tuned, and I'll say bye-bye.